And all right. So Micah Greenberg is a lifelong creative director and community builder. He's a brilliant poet, and as you know, he hosts our Friday morning poetry salon series. Micah served for 10 years in creative and marketing leadership roles at both The Atlantic and NPR before founding a mission driven creative agency. Micah has produced hundreds of live events, ran a vibrant art space in Washington, D.C., and in addition to serving as TNM's executive director and chief creative officer, he is the executive producer of Kensington Presents, an outdoor concert series in Los Angeles. But really, he just went into the family business. So, Micah, welcome. I'm so psyched that you're here. I understand your career got started in the stroller.
That's true. And great to be here, everybody. I've met a lot of you before. Some people are new, and I'm really excited for this. Yeah, so I had a pushy mother, in that she, I guess in a number of ways, but including that she literally pushed me around a stroller in marches on Washington, which is where I grew up. She's a career activist. Both of my parents really career activists and educators. So I sort of had people chanting around me even before I could speak. And that sense of purpose has kind of stuck.
So, how did this activism develop in your adolescence?
Yeah, so in my adolescence, a couple of things started to really develop, both of which are still a huge part of who I am now and how I got involved with the narrative method. So one is creative writing or creative expression. I'm sure I have a lot of fellow nerds on the call, so let's go. Including Julia Ames, who is an old friend I haven't seen in a while. We've bonded a lot over kind of our nerdery. I spent my 16th birthday not having kind of a wild party, but at the Library of Congress with my mom, where I got to see a reading by every living US poet laureate.
Whoa.
So kind of an early love of poetry, especially. And also really leaning into community building and healthy communications or communicating with empathy during that time. So I started a handful of peer mediation programs, including at my own high school. So that was really meaningful too.
Wait, when you were in high school, you started peer mediation.
When I was in high school, not by myself. I think we don't do very much by ourselves, right? So I had a great mentor in our school counselor. I went to a big public high school, and we, worked together on that.
Incredible. And then college, what was that like?
Yeah, so college was formative in a lot of ways. And I got to go to Brown University and study creative writing, which was a dream, absolute dream of mine for a long time before that. And dreams take many forms, and sometimes they can also turn into nightmares. So you and I have talked a little bit about this before, but my second year of high school, and this has really informed kind of a lot of who I've become.
College.
College. Yeah, so in a second year of college is when I first really actively struggled with mental illness, with anxiety, with deep depression, even suicidal ideation, and had to take a year off to really focus on that, to focus on healing and kind of rebuilding. And I got to do that too. And this week's core concept is relational mindfulness. And that year of kind of healing was very much about relationships and about community. So I was kind of randomly recruited in a summer acting class to be a part of a traveling group of 4 men and 4 women. We did workshops in high schools and colleges. on kind of sexual assault and dating violence. So kind of like I found before and since, and very much now, including like right now on this call, a lot of kind of healing through service, right? Kind of being a service to other people and especially being part of a group to that end.
So, you know, something about personal healing, something about community healing. How did you get to NPR?
Okay. So first, kind of had to reapply to college to get back in and really recommit. And at the end of college, I was thinking about what to do next, and where I kind of dreamed of working, Google didn't exist, and Indeed didn't exist. You know, there weren't a lot of places to look. So sort of, what organizations had I heard of, and you know, did I feel drawn to? And there was sort of an ideal bottom of the rung job listing at NPR, brand coordinator at the time. And I remember interviewing from my dorm room where I wore a suit, although no one could see me because I was that kind of committed to it, and was really lucky to be given a chance to get a job there, and to be there at a time. And a lot of you on this call will remember some of the original voices of NPR who were still there at that time. So Carl Castle, who's no longer with us, and Robert Siegel and Susan Stamberg, Nina Totenberg. So speaking of relationships, like really amazing relationships that almost don't seem real now. But, you know, I feel so grateful to have had them and to have learned from so many amazing storytellers and getting to tell some of their stories, you know, along the way.
So it was great, but your depression came back.
Yeah. So toward the end of my time at NPR, and we're talking about 10 years later, a long time later, depression came back, and anxiety, and really a sense of being overwhelmed or search for meaning. And that, you know, I coped with that very much with drugs and alcohol. So it developed, you know, pretty intense addiction to drugs and alcohol, and you know, also stayed busy that time, very active in the arts and in putting on events like we've talked about. And that also took the form of parties and late nights that only fed this kind of reliance on drugs and alcohol. And actually, within a year of leaving NPR, I found myself, and now I'm very grateful for this, at a rehab facility in Arizona.
And so talk about that rehab experience in terms of the healing relationships.
Yeah. So, you know, we say that the narrative method isn't therapy, although I value, you know, I benefit from it every day. Your background as a psychologist, this isn't therapy. But when I was in rehab at Sierra Tucson, it's called, which is, you know, really amazing place. It was the first time I experienced group therapy, which is something that was kind of half of every day for a month.
Mm.
And that was life-changing. Me learning from other people in the group, getting to support them partly by sharing my own experience, like I'm doing now. And the whole program there was very much 12-step based. So meaning the 12 steps of AA, and got to start to go out to meetings and to be involved in that community, and really grow through that process. And, you know, although the 12 core concepts of the narrative method are not that same process, it feels like it has a similar impact, which is, you know, a huge part of why this is meaningful for me.
Wow. So you got all of these resources. How do you cope today?
So I think, you know, kind of struggles with mental illness never really go away, I think, for anybody, and certainly, you know, not for me. But at this point, I go to therapy every week, and I see a psychiatrist once a quarter. And, medication doesn't help everybody. Not everybody believes in that. For me, that's been really life-changing. And it sort of raised my floor and allowed me to dance on that floor kind of and leap. So that's been big. I go to a few AA meetings every week. Again, that's a very active part of my life. And I get to do this, right? Which feels kind of uncanny, fated. Like sort of your life's work and my life's work have led to our life's work, is kind of how it feels now with the narrative method. I'll add Dana to that too, who I'm looking at on the screen. This amazing kind of core team and community. And for a sense, if you don't know, we have almost 30,000 people on an email list. To Shari's credit, she's done incredible work, largely on her own for decades, and especially the last dozen years or so with this. And now I think we have a vision. We were meeting today to talk about it, of growing this kind of even beyond what we can imagine now, but kind of doing our best to think big and to bring in as many people as possible.
So before we close, tell us about your current vision.
Okay. So current vision for me is really wrapped up in our vision for the narrative method. And I don't want to give too much away, but I'll say for accountability, which is a big part of the program of AA for me, but for accountability, we hope to provide even more programming in the next year. So including online salons with partners too and guests, live events in LA and across the country, wherever we can get, and new resources that really bring the model to life and to let you sort of take it with you to where you live and love and work. So we're looking to produce. You asked me about my vision. I guess I'm excited about producing with you a book based on the narrative method, and new editions of our conversation cards, the DIY human cards that are great tools, online resources, and then developing trainings. So I think that can help us really share the magic of what you've created and the impact by training facilitators to kind of take this model and take this work into other places and communities and social institutions. So I'm really excited about what it can become from here.
I just want to say that if you are an example of a profound struggle, you're like the most together person I know. And I hope this just gives everybody not just insight into Micah in particular, but appreciation of whatever you struggle with. We all have our dark sides, and they are also filled with our creativity. So don't be so quick to get rid of them. There's beauty to be learned. And I'm going to stop recording